Hey guys, so I just arrived in Göteborg, which is in Sweden, yesterday, and the weather was spectacular. I mean, beautiful. It was a beautiful autumn day. The leaves are changing here. It just had the right amount of wind. And then I wake up this morning and it is super soggy. It is raining cats and dogs here, and it's supposed to rain all day, which is a real bummer because I'm here to see the Göteborg Botanic Gardens, or as people know them, Gothenburg Botanic Gardens. And the reason why I'm here is because Andrew Bunting from the Chicago Botanic Gardens had said that this is the best botanic gardens that he's ever seen. Really exquisite, just the layout, how organized it is. And I wanted to see it firsthand and bring you with me. But the weather is not on our side today. So at least we'll see the conservatories. And then maybe tomorrow, if we have a break in the weather, I'll be able to take you with me to see the rest of the landscape at the Botanic Gardens. So, time to go. There was a break in the rain, so decided to actually make our way to the Botanic Gardens of Göteborg. We're gonna see Asa Kruger, who's the curator and one of the horticulturists there. And luckily, we are going to be spending time in the conservatories or the glass houses because it actually may rain again, and that's okay, because at least we'll see what's in the glass houses. From the Botanic Gardens. So this is actually a really beautiful landscape to walk through in order to get to the Botanic Gardens. As you can see, some really beautiful old trees here that are just changing color in the autumn. But passing the noisy highway will kind of obliterate this view for a little bit. Really nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So how did you get involved in this Botanic Gardens?
Well, I was doing my PhD in systematic botany in Stockholm, actually, and working a little bit in the garden in Stockholm. And then I applied for the position here. And this is my lifelong dream, to be working in a botanical garden. So I was super excited when I saw the position, and even more so when I got it. So.
Did you come to this botanic garden prior? So did you have a sense of it?
Yes.
What was it about this particular garden that you really liked?
Well, I like the variety. I mean, the conservatories are really nice, and the orchid collection is fantastic. But also the outdoor garden is really, really nice, and it's varies so much. It has so much different parts of it, and it's very friendly to the public.
Yeah, it's one of the things that I really noticed when coming here is that it's so inviting. You walk right in and the garden just greets you. So I agree with you, it's really beautiful. But what makes this particular Botanic Gardens really extra special?
Well, I think the layout of the garden, it's positioned right on the edge of a nature reserve, and also the topography is very exciting. And we're building like rooms in the garden, using that topography and using the different areas, creating microclimates. We have a rockery that's really nice, and we also have this perennial gardens, and yeah, it's a mixture, and I think that's and open spaces. It's a large area, and yeah, so people, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of people here, but there is a lot of people, and everyone can just go around. And I think there is something for everyone. If you just like flowers and want to take a nice picture, this place is for you. And if you want to go into scientific stuff, we have great scientific collections, so then you can go be a nerd, sort of, in that sense. And also if you just want to come and relax in the green.
I also think one of the things that you had said to me that really stuck out is that the garden is almost designed with like little rooms. And so it's as if you're kind of like opening up a door and you're seeing something new for the first time, yet you could turn the corner and there'll be something completely different on the other side. I think that's really important to have in kind of the layout of a botanic garden. But your specialty is here in the conservatories, right?
Yes, I did my PhD on tropical plants, so that's why I'm in here, still working with tropical plants. And I think, so this is my specialty, the warm areas of the greenhouses, yeah.
And where were some of the places that you did some of your studies on tropical plants?
Madagascar primarily, and the islands around Madagascar. And then we went also to Vietnam to study some sister groups, to those plants.
So you're probably seeing a lot of, or studying a lot of endemic, plants, particularly when it comes to Madagascar.
Yes, that's right. There was a Rubiaceae, the coffee family, so a bunch of trees in that family that I looked.
And then aside from the fact that this is just like a really gorgeous layout with so many different types of gardens and an impressive conservatory, what are some other things that the Gothenburg Botanic Gardens is really known for?
It's really known for the geophyte collection. If you're a scientist, you want to come and look at geophytes. And then if you're a plant enthusiast, and then you will go to the perennial gardens, and we also have a showing each year on how to grow your perennials and how to take care of them. It's very, very popular. And also in the entrance, we have this theme every year of something that's, this year it was a whale, because we had election year, and in Swedish whale and the word for election is the same. So it's play a word. So we had that as a tapestry.
Thank you so much. So should we actually go and take a tour?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah, okay, so this is the tropical house. Here we keep a lot of useful plants.
Yeah.
And I think this is one of the most rewarding places to go with people, because they will recognize stuff. And the most popular thing is to look at chocolate.
Of course.
Yeah, so that's
everybody
right
loves
over here.
Chocolate.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's very much fruiting. I sometimes I come here and I never see it either in bloom or with fruits on.
Yeah, this is a really good individual specimen. Yeah, it flowers a lot and has fruit all year round.
Yeah, really, all year round. Wow.
So it's really, really nice. And it's fun to talk about and see the flowers coming out right the stem.
Yeah, which is so unusual, right? What family is this in?
This is in Malvaceae.
Okay. Is that common for that family, or?
No, I mean, this is really uncommon in the plant world, but it's a little bit more common in the rainforests or in the tropical plants. Yeah, and there are different theories.
Okay.
Yeah, so for this one, either it's that the pollinators are big and need to have something to sit on, but for these little tiny flowers, they're small flies, so they don't need it. But it's the fruit, the seed dispersals, so little monkeys and bats and so on, they need somewhere to sit that is sturdy.
Interesting. Yeah, because sometimes I see you occasionally will see flowers even coming out of the leaves, which is also really unusual. But the stem, fascinating. So the theory is because of the monkeys then.
Yeah, and also if you look at the rainforest, you have a really dense canopy. And if you have all your flowers up high up in the canopy, there are not a lot of pollinators up there. So if you want to keep your flowers where the pollinators thrive as well. So if you're a huge tree, maybe you should have your flowers further down.
Fascinating. And then you also have some pipers down here. Is that a pepper?
Yeah, this is a little piper. We have actually a lot of different pipers growing here, and they're useful but also very pretty to look at.
Yeah, the variegation on the leaves is gorgeous.
Yeah, and they're trailing, and you can take them anywhere. So they're very good for making a room in a room like this. Yeah. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this weird trunk that we have here. I think this is fascinating, and I like to talk about this with kids. So when they see this huge chunk, they're like, what is that? It looks like an alien plant. Yeah, and so on. And then when you talk about little ants that lives in here, and also, now I don't think we have one, but you can usually see little seedlings coming up here, really showing where the ants has taken the little seeds, and I think you have one here. Yeah.
And so this is an ant plant.
Yeah.
And do you have native ant species that go in here? No.
Unfortunately not. Okay. Yeah, we have a lot of other ants, and they seem to like them as well.
Do they really?
Yeah.
Okay, right on.
Yeah.
And are there little special, is it just providing like an ant home, or are there kind of special sugars that it's attracting the ant for this one?
This is Myrmecodia. I think this is just for nesting. But then we have others here as well, and we have this Thunbergia. It doesn't have any flowers right now, but it has two separate kinds of Nectaria. On the outside of the bud, it's food for ants. Yes, they will keep away all the other insects that will hurt the buds. And then when it opens up, they have other nectaries for the pollinators.
Fascinating.
Yeah, so this little corner here is for ant plants in general.
And also you have some really interesting plants growing on mosses. And is this also an ant plant? No, this is a...
Yeah, this is also.
Okay.
Yeah, this is an orchid.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Now this is also for nesting, and I don't know about the nectaries for this one actually. So they have hollows also.
Oh, and you have a monolina right there, which is also another ant plant with the contrasting bottoms.
Yeah, so I think this is a good start coming in, talking about ants and chocolate, and then you get people's attention, and then you can go into the more hardcore stuff after that.
You got some Amorphophallus here too?
Yeah, we have some Amorphophallus out here, and then we have a collection. We're going to go in and look at that later on in the nursery. And these are really fascinating plants. I love them, actually.
What is it about that you love about them?
I love that it's almost like they have a temperament, sort of like they decide when I want to have a leaf up, or then I have a leaf up and now I'm growing big enough to have a flower. And then when they have the flower, they really have a huge flower, and they sort of, do their thing. And they're so variable also in their flowering. And also it's interesting with the odor and the thermogenesis. Yeah.
But also I think the leaves are quite nice. I have one of the smaller ones that have like really feathery style leaves.
And this is something else that I like, when you want people to go here and you want people to feel like they're in nature. So you want to be touched by plants, to use all of your sensories. So this is really my favorite part to take people through, because then they will sort of, be greeted by this flower.
I love that sentiment, and it was actually one of the comments when I first saw this space, is that it's manicured very well, don't get me wrong, but there is something about it where it's like coming into your space. And I love the idea. Even in my own home, I have, like, my dad will sometimes come in and he's like, there's leaves all over. And I'm like, but that's the point. They're there to touch you.
Yeah, I like that. So that's something that we have here. And then we have some of my favorite ferns as well.
Oh, wow. Look at this fiddlehead. Is that considered a fiddlehead or?
Yeah. Wow, it's so prehistoric.
Yeah, it really is. So this is the Angiopteris, and it's huge, and we have two of them like this, and I think it really creates a room in themselves. And yeah, and it's also a great teaching opportunity because other little ferns will disperse their spores here. So you can look at gametophytes.
Yeah, and so they're in a different stage altogether and have a completely different leaf structure.
So yeah, I like these two guys. They're sort of making up the room here. And then we have this huge tree in the middle. That's the rubber tree.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So we tried to pollinate this year, but I can't see any fruits anywhere yet because it was so tricky to take cuttings and get them to grow. So we wanted to have some seeds and get some new because you see it's growing out of our house.
Yeah, I know that's a struggle, right? Where you just feel like you never built a big enough glass house.
Exactly. Well, I went to one where they actually built out the roof for just one plant.
Is this a Sanchesia right here?
Yes. Yes.
I had one of these. It was really beautiful, and I could not fight off the spider mites indoors, but yours is looking massively more healthier than mine did.
Yeah, it is tricky, isn't it? Yeah. We use a lot of biological warfare.
Yeah, I'm a huge proponent of having biological control in the home, and people are a little bit creeped out because it involves insects, but I'm like, but you already have insects on your plants.
Yeah.
And you might as well release more insects who are just going to stick on your plants anyway. They're not going to like come in bed with you.
Yeah, but some of them are really cute as well.
Yeah, some of them are adorable.
Sometimes you say it's like a face a mother can only love, but I have an entomology background too, so I love insects, and I'm trying to get people over the hump of like, it's okay. Yeah.
But it's also nicer to have that in your home, I think, than putting chemicals and everything.
Exactly. Especially because if like you're also growing food crops, like you're not going to put that on your food like if you have basil or like thyme or whatever. I want to actually point out some of these things in the understory because sometimes we don't get a chance to see some of the stuff in the understory, but you have some really cool signoniums, and that aglaonema is so gorgeous. You have a lot of interesting species that I haven't seen, at least in U.S. Botanic Gardens. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then there's that really nice calathea.
Yeah, well, these are really nice to have here because it gets so dark here at the floor. So we use begonias and a lot of aroids, and they're doing very well here. So that's very nice to see.
Ooh, something smells good in here. I don't know if it's someone's perfume or if it's a plant.
Yeah, it's a plant. Let's see. Well, I don't know which one it is really now, but because a lot of them are in flower.
Is this a Rhaphidophora?
Yes.
Or, oh my goodness, it's shingling beautifully.
This tree is really, we're working a lot on it right now to get more stuff on it. Yeah. So in here, I think what's neat when you want to come in and take a group with you is that people always recognize these guys. So these are in almost everyone's home, right? So these are Phalaenopsis. But then you could just take a couple of steps over here, and then you have the species.
Yes.
So not the cultivars. And I really like that you could see the species and then look at the cultivars, and then you can see, well, they probably mixed in something of this and something of that to make the coloration that you see in the stores. And also so people understand that Phalaenopsis really is a true species, and that they're smaller and they are... Yeah.
It started from somewhere.
It started from somewhere, right?
Yeah.
I have to show you this as well.
Yeah.
This is a really nice little species that we have here. So this is also a tiny little orchid, right?
Oh my goodness.
And you can see the lip is sort of hovering, moving.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like a little insect.
Yeah, so that's part of the
mimicking.
pollination syndrome. But this is actually just labeled orchid, and it was collected in the wild by my predecessor.
Yeah.
So this is something for me to identify.
Wow.
And I love this. You can, sort of when you walk around here doing inventory, you find these different little gems everywhere.
Fantastic.
So this is what I like the most, actually, going around in collections.
And finding something that's like so unusual.
Yeah.
Now, will you have to then cross-reference this with some of the other orchid collections around the area, or like some, herbarium specimens? Or?
It will be herbariums and keys and, going through the literature. So this is really detective work. And
a lot of work.
This is fantastic. I think this is what I love doing. So, and coming in here, and this is a really good room, both for talking about pollination syndromes, but also to talk about the history, the human history with orchids. I appreciate that. And this collection will have a little bit of everything. So you can talk about the cattleyas, and you can talk about the paphiopedilums, and the vanilla, and the orchid collection, I think, is very interesting. So it draws the attention. I mean, if you have a flower looking like this, you sort of get curious what's going on. And if you smell it, it smells really strong, and you can understand it has something to do with the smell of it.
Oh yeah, that is quite nice. Yeah, that was one of the fascinating things that I saw somebody who works specifically on the scent of flowers and their pollinators, and how some bee species put the perfume on them and mix different perfumes together from the different flowers in order to be able to attract the female. So sometimes those bees are creating their own perfumes in order to be able to attract a female partner, which is unbelievable. There's so much going on beneath the canopy that we don't even know.
Yeah, there's so much we don't even know. So and also people love to go in here and just look at the pretty flowers and see, well, maybe I want this at home, or that's fantastic. Why do they look like this? And is this really an orchid? And
this one reminds me of cat whiskers.
Yeah.
What actually pollinates this? I'm curious.
Oh, I don't know what pollinates this, but it has to have a little, I don't know, proboscis? Do you call it?
Proboscis,
So I would suggest that it's some kind of butterfly
with a long
relative.
tongue,
And it's white, so perhaps something at night. Yeah, and here, of course, we have some paphiopedilums and phragmipediums as well. So we keep them together, and then, we talk about them, and we try to do some plantations along the stream to sort of mimic the natural habitat as well, and they seem to like it. So we're going to continue with that.
Yeah, your tillandsias and your maidenhair ferns are looking so good right here.
This water really creates a good space for this, and we have a vanilla liana growing here as well, and it's starting to take on again. It was a bit sad for a while, but now it's growing really nicely again. So.
And do you hand pollinate this when?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So have you had some vanilla pods on it recently?
Not recently.
Okay.
We had some on another vanilla species, but not on this one. We had some trouble on this. This is from 1920, so it's one of our oldest orchids.
Right.
So we have been a bit worried, but now it looks good again. Yep. And I think this one, a lot of people recognize Phragmipedium bessie. This is a really nice species, and it gets a lot of attention with its coloration, but it's also a very important hybrid parent for all of these Phragmipedium hybrids.
Does it primarily bloom during one particular season?
We have two flowering seasons really, so November and March, April. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's when we have most of them in bloom. And we try to have guided tours and showings and do something extra for people to come at the right time and see them. Yeah. And usually, my predecessor, he talked a lot about his travels collecting orchids and so on and so on. But for orchids, I'm more interested in the cultural history of them, the collectors, and and how it became a woman issue in England with the suffragettes burning down the Kew collection. And
did you read The Orchid Thief by chance?
yes,
Yeah, of course.
yes, I did.
Yeah.
If you're interested in the cultural aspects
Yeah.
and things like that, even though it's a fictional account, it's based on so many cool issues.
And because of that, I think it's important that we have this one. This is a dendrobium, very pretty, but it's named after Queen Victoria. And she was the only female person you can find almost in the history of orchids.
Wow.
So that's nice. So this one is...
And was she a collector of orchids as well?
Yeah, she was, along with the Pope at the time and the Romanovs. Yeah, but otherwise no females.
Wow. Well, there was during a time, during the Victorian era, when flowers were almost considered too showy for women.
Yes,
Right?
yes, and too vulgar.
Vulgar,
for
vulgar,
women.
yeah.
Sensitive
Yeah,
minds
too.
couldn't take it.
Then we moved more into foliage plants, I suppose, but yeah. You mentioned like some flowers are going into rest or dormancy, and how do you switch up the care of your collections when they're starting to go in a more rest period?
Yeah, so we try to collect the ones who rest at the same time, put them in the same house, on the same netting, for example, and yeah, we do a big brocade, sort of a chess play during that winter period. Yeah, because we also have the problem in Sweden with the light in the winter, right? So you have to sort of take extra care of your plants during winter.
Yeah, those of us in the northern hemisphere have a little bit more challenge. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the kids' favorite room. And that's why we have so low tables as well, so everyone can go and look at everything.
I guess kids like the gory things, you know, eats bugs.
Yeah, and also like, can they eat meat?
Yeah.
And how big is the biggest carnivorous plants? And yeah.
So you probably know that these are going to get a lot of hand touching down here.
Yeah. So we try to keep a lot of them, and we don't have these really valuable collections. We try to keep a lot of plants, divide them, and have a lot of it, so the collection can be touched and be part of the visit in another way than our other plants can't really. Yeah.
So you have some pictures here and some sundews.
Here's the orchid that we have in here. It's special for this room, and it's called Disa. It's from South Africa, and it's extremely hard to grow. So we've been cracking the code for Disa cultivation. So that's nice. Their main flowering season is in August and September. So these guys are still hanging on.
Do they like to have wet feet? Because it seems like you have them sitting, and so that maybe that's part of the cracking of the code, huh?
So we have the droseras here as well. And I like them because I love the leaves. Of course, they look fantastic, but also the flowers creating this shape as well. And then it's so easy to talk about pollination and prey. Sort of, you want to keep those separate from each other.
The nepenthes?
Yeah. So this is always fun. You can always like cut one down, open it up, and see what's inside. And the kids are like, "Oh, bug juice!" And I try to tell them it's a smoothie for the plants, and tell them about the biggest one, which actually capture a little monkey and rodents and stuff. Yeah, so I think this is fun, and you can do a lot. You can tell a lot of different stories, and also they're super pretty. These little small utricularias are really nice, and the pinguicula.
Yeah, pinguicula. I've never seen a pink butterwort like that.
Yeah, and it's in bud as well, so this is going to be really nice.
So cool. Man, that's like one of my faves here. And how are these, do these capture something on their leaves? These utricularias?
Utricularias, they have you don't see it, so it's under, usually in Sweden we have yellow utricularias that grow in water, and they have really specialized traps. And it's the same with these, but these are in the ground instead, so you won't see them.
So they're underground?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. And the
For
roots
this one.
or?
Yeah, along the roots.
Okay, so like, is it rhizomatous? Like, is it, do the roots kind
Yeah,
of stick
sure.
out
So
way?
this is
Okay.
probably like
The
one individual.
species,
Yeah.
And then, do you have the? I'm blanking on the name. I think it starts with an S, but the carnivorous one that has a pistil that
it's
whips.
Lydium.
Yes, Lydiums. Yeah.
have them over here.
Might not be in flower.
Yeah. So it's just had its flowers.
Okay.
Let's see.
Oh yeah, just this one
Yeah.
just died. But
Yeah.
you could see this. You could see the little style right there. I think.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, so
it's
this is cool.
cool.
Yeah.
You just like whip
Yeah.
and
I
whip and
like it.
stick, whip
Yeah.
and stick.
Yeah.
Oh, these guys are so adorable.
Yeah. The cephalotus, yeah, those are fantastic.
What I like about this one is that you really have to lean in to
Yeah.
see a lot of these.
Yeah.
Because then I'd imagine that the people who had first discovered them, they had been stepping on them all along, but they're just right under your feet.
Yeah, and they cause such controversy with Linnaeus, and yeah, so they have a really nice, neat history as well. Yeah. And these make for excellent photo plants,
Yeah.
right? So you
Little
try
cobra
to
heads.
try
Yeah.
to get those windows and a good light, and then you have a fantastic photo.
And I did bring in some of butterwort to my home this time around, and
Okay.
I am just amazed with. I didn't even think I had a fungus gnat problem, and then with all the fungus gnats on the leaves, I was so impressed that it was, it was better than flypaper.
Perfect.
Ooh, begonias.
We had a previous gardener who was really into begonias, and this room happened, sort of. And begonias, well, they are interesting in many different ways, of course. They're really good for teaching when you look at flowers for female and male flowers and foliage, and yeah, just about everything you can use a begonia as a model plant, really.
I feel like there's always a begonia for everybody, and because not everybody's always into begonias. But is there a particular type of begonia that you most like?
Well, I like the ones with really cool leaves, I would say. And for me, a cool leaf would be something like this, or perhaps this. Something that takes up some space and has something extra, I would say.
I like the ones that have a little bit more of a succulent look. So this begonia venosa, for instance.
Yeah, sure, this is really nice, and it has these papery scales as well. So yeah, and except for begonias, we have all of these little weird things growing in here, like the welwitschia, for example. So that's really cool, I think. And
so tell some of the folks about the welwitschia, because I think it's such an interesting specimen, and we don't always get a chance to see it in the Botanic Gardens.
lately, they will call you a living fossil, right? So all the relatives has died out, and then it's the closest they have right now is Gnetum and Ephedrus. And they make up a special branch in the gymnosperms. So they have little cones growing out of them, female and male, so on different plants. And this is not in cone right now. And also these leaves are the only leaves they will have. And they will just grow and grow and grow and grow. I think they can be up to 8 meters in length, and then sort of just tears down into ribbons, and it looks, yeah. And the stem grows in a weird way as well. So when you go out to Namibia, you would see this ugly looking mass, clump of green, sort of like the stem goes up about 1-2 meters above ground, and then you have this 2 leaves that form this huge rubble of green, and you could see people going in SUVs with binoculars and just looking, and then all of a sudden they just break and run out, sit down, take a photo, and go home, right?
Well, they look like sea creatures, washed up on like a sandy shore or something, And then you have some biophytums here. Do people touch these?
They are also a bit of a a weed.
Oh, are they really? So you didn't really plant these here?
Well, I think we began at the beginning. They were meant to be here, but they become invasive.
I guess spread by seed, right?
Yeah, so now we're trying to keep them down, actually. Yeah, and then we have this devil nettle. I used to tell.
Is it is it a true nettle in the Urticaceae, or?
Yeah, so it's here. We keep it in a box.
Behind glass.
Yeah, so this is, I think it's called devil nettle in English as well. I'm not sure. Yeah, so this is one of the species with the most potent, I don't know what you call it.
I guess it would probably be sting. The most potent sting,
like the hairs.
Yeah,
then the
urticaceous hairs, I think they're called. But yeah.
Okay, so the alkaloid or whatever is in that little syringe.
Oh,
it's super potent. So I think it's killed horses and dogs, and So this is, and I think that's typical for Australian things, really, to be really potent. But they look really yummy, I think, the berries. So it wouldn't be weird to think that someone would go and pick these and get stung.
Wow.
Really. So these are really nice. But we have them in the glass box so no one would touch them. But also for our gardeners, because even though the leaves fall off like this and they dry out, they're still very potent if you breathe them in.
Wow.
So you can get burn in your lungs.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a burning poison ivy equivalent. I don't know if you have poison ivy here, but if you burn it, it could get into your lungs and actually cause inflammation in your lungs, and you could die. But now I'm curious, because it has such potent urticaceous hairs on this particular nettle, who then is the champion of taking on those fruits and, I guess, either pollinating or taking the fruits and eating them? Are they even edible?
I have no idea if you could eat them. No. I don't know who's going to pick the berries and survive. I have no idea. Well, I think we're just going to stop at this here, and because this is one of our really, unique plants. This is called the Easter Island tree. It comes from Easter Island outside of Chile, and it's extinct in the wild. But we had the luxury of Thor Heyerdahl, which was an explorer, and he brought some seeds in the 50s that we could grow. So we have the only known provenance for Eastern Island tree, and we have,
So have you been able to, does this self-pollinate, or do you have to pollinate it with another, or?
No, it's self-fertile, so we can pollinate it. And we have successfully got seeds that we've sown, so I'm going to show you those. They're in the nursery.
Fantastic.
And we have been involved in different projects trying to get it back to Easter Island. But so far, unfortunately, no tree has succeeded in their original habitat. So.
And why do you think that is? Is there like a person who could care for it while it's still establishing down there? Or do you just kind of plant it and see you, bye?
I think it's a multiple cause for it. I think perhaps it needs a bit more care for a longer period of time after it's planted, but also could possibly be that it hasn't been planted at the right place on the island, so the weather conditions and the climates are not perfect for this plant anymore.
There's something so romantic about being able to take a species that had been extinct and being able to put it back in the wild, but perhaps there's just like that bitter sweetness to it that perhaps you're only going to be able to get it here. And then when you think about plants in the wild, oftentimes, when you walk into a place like this and you have all this foliage, a lot of the plants create the environment that they want to live in. So maybe just having, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 seedlings isn't giving it enough of the environment that it would create in a more intact environment.
Yeah, of course, because these are trees, right? They want to have other trees around them, and creating the microclimates that you have everywhere. Mm-hmm. So, and I think this little guy were found on the cliff of a volcano.
Wow.
So I think that's why this guy was left. They were so hard to get to for grazing animals and so on.
Yeah, but it's a very healthy looking species, so hats off to you for being able to take it from seed to tree.
Yeah, this is something really nice, and it's something really nice to talk about also, about collecting things and how things can get extinct in the wild. You often talk about animals, and when you talk about extinction and not plants, and this is a really good showcase of extinction. And, yeah.
We'd love to see some of those seedlings.
Yeah, let's go into the nurseries. Yeah, so this is behind the scenes in here. Here we keep, these are for, we have a school here.
Mimosa,
so this is touch sensitive, and these are for the school kids, these plants. So you have ginger and coconut and different things, sugar, cane, and so on.
Gosh, it smells so sweet in here.
Yeah. It does. And on the other hand, here we have a lot of scientific material. So the scientists at the university go and collect and do their studies on these guys. So we have a lot of Rubiaceae. We have a Rubiaceae team. And some other bits and pieces coming back, mostly from Ecuador and South America. And here,
Cassia looks so cool. Is this a cupria, or which one is this?
this is cupria.
Yeah.
This is really nice. We try to divide them and get more of them, because I think they look really nice. When you have a lot of them together, you really get this.
And I'm thinking of because you had done Rubiaceae, and I'm thinking of we don't have a lot of houseplants that are in Rubiaceae. I think I have some Hoffmannia, but they're not really a good houseplant. You have to really baby them. But
you could have some Coffeas, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
Well, maybe not Arabica, but Canephora could be, Robusta.
Ficus, Deltoidia, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of different forms of this, which is quite nice. Now, these are things that you're going to be eventually putting out into.
Yeah, most of them, not the scientific things. And also we have an Amorphophallus collection, you're starting to see them here. And
some of the flowers as well.
Yeah, so these we have in here, and we just take them out when they flower. So we have other aroids as well, Ariacema, for example, and the Amorphophallus. And then we start to see the Easter Island trees here. Oh, yes. So here we have a couple of them growing, and they seem to be doing fine. We had some problems with drying up in the branches, but I think we sort of solved that issue now.
Is that also an Amorphophallus?
Yeah, we have, so this is, and we have one in bloom over there, but I think this one is nicer, and it's right next to this hybrid John Tan that has cracked this pot.
Oh, wow. I look at that. That's so funny.
Yeah, I think that's part of sort of the temperament of the Amorphophallus.
Yes, indeed. And also the fact that they do kind of get a little bit top heavy, and do you ever try to stake them up a little bit, or do you just kind of let them fall?
Yeah, we let them fall down.
Oh, and there's another flower right up there.
Yeah.
We could grab that.
Yeah, it's really nice. You can go into it and see both male and female flowers. Really neat here. So you have the male flowers on top, and then the female. So you have the different flowers on this. So the male flowers and the female flowers growing inside there. And you could really see the difference, and that it's separated on this, what I like to call the odor chimney. Yeah. This we are, lucky or unlucky, because it doesn't smell that much.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I thought I got a little bit of an odor, but it wasn't that guy.
No, but sometimes it smells really strong in here when you get in. So,
is that the Pilea peperomioides, or what is this one? I haven't seen it that.
This one.
Yeah.
This is a wild peperomia. We don't have the species name for it, so it's collected in wild.
This is so interesting, and it has this cup shape.
Yeah. So this is another little mystery. I got the collection.
I love peperomia, by the way, and I thought this was maybe a Pilea peperomioides because of the way it's structured, but
but I'm not sure. There are a lot of peperomias.
Yeah, there are so many peperomias, and you can never collect all of them, but that is my favorite genus of all time is the peperomia.
Yeah, and I have one of my favorite rubiaceae are actually in fruit over here. I think it's really nice. But this one, I really like this one. This is a Morinda citrifolia. This one here with the fruits.
Oh yeah, look at the fruits. They're like little cones.
Yeah, and then you see there are flowers at top there. You have a little bud.
Yeah, I see
so white
them with the
flowers,
little
and
white flowers on the top.
so each square is for one flower. So there are multiple fruits sticking together for this huge fruit, and they're actually buoyant. You say they float on water, and the seed as well is buoyant in itself. So it's along streams. It spreads, and it's really nice, and you can make a good juice. And here we have some ferns that we really tried to get to grow a little bit better, so we can put it in the understory in the tropical house. So this is neat. And then we're trying to get some mangrove going as well.
Wow.
But they are tiny
Yeah.
still.
I have a little mangrove growing in my biopod, but it's slow. It's a slow grower.
Yeah. So these, we have these guys for a couple of years now, but yeah, we hope that we can get a good place for them. But also, this guy is trying to.
Oh,
So huge now. It's papyrus.
Oh, okay. The papyrus.
Yeah, so Cyprus papyrus. Yeah, that's really nice actually, but we don't have the space for it.
Yeah, I see that.
Yes, this is the cooler nursery. So here we have a lot of bulbs and geophytes and cacti and so on. But I was going to show you baby leaftops. This is one of my favorite genera. So we really tried, we made an effort 2 years ago. So we got a lot of seeds trying to get all species and subspecies of leaftops to really, because I love them and I want to get to know them better and see them for real, not just on pictures and in books and so on.
And tell me a little bit about your seed starting strategies for lithops.
For lithops, I think we tried quite a number of different ways, actually. But really, what seemed to work the best was just this sort of rocky, sandy mixture, and we bought extra lighting and keep them, at the beginning we kept them in a heated bed, and now we lift them up from the heated sand bed. So sand in the pots and sand around the pots to get good drainage, and it seemed to work in the end. Yeah, and also they grow in such limited areas, so I think that's part of their survival technique as well.
And some of the interesting things about lithops are how it actually collects and dissipates light. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So if you look at, perhaps we can take this one, it's actually dividing right now. That's really neat. So in the wild, most of this is covered in the earth. And you all have these little windows up here that works both as a window letting light in, but also as a UV protection, because the light is so freaking strong for these guys. But and they grow in really arid environments, so they have very little water, access to water, so they don't want to lose water. So what they do is that they have all the chlorophylls on the inside, so when you slice one open, they're like strikingly green inside, and they can be totally camouflaged outside. So all the chlorophyll is on the inside, and they have little silica prismas inside, which will scatter the light, so it will go out to all the chloroplasts on the edges. And they have both conical and straight cells also to get shade within themselves. So they are really cool. I mean, the cells that they have are super cool. And also because the photons excite the chlorophylls, so they have to sort of de-excite the chlorophylls as well.
Right, so they have those prisms on there in order to be able to dissipate the light.
So the light goes into the chloroplasts, but it's so much light, so they also have to sort of try to take the excitement down.
Because too much light could be very damaging and hurt the cells in the end.
Yes, and also what they do, as most arid plants do, is that they don't open the stomata during the day. It opens at night, just as with cacti.
Right, so cam metabolism.
Yeah. Cam metabolism, that's the key. And also, when you see, they only have 2 leaves at a time, but this one are just beginning to have new leaves, and they take it to an extreme. The new leaves are filled with the water from the old leaves. So it really draws out all the water from the old leaves before the new ones sort of get their way.
Fascinating.
Take care of everything.
Now, something like this, where you see this growing out, is this the older one, or how is this growing here?
This is
looks like a little
2.
offset.
Yeah, this is 2 growing in the same pot, I would say. And they're just sort of, they have grown too close together, so it's taking up space from each other. Yeah, so I think these are fascinating to not be able to move and have so much water in an arid environment and just rely on camouflage.
Yeah,
because they're not poisonous. They're just sitting there waiting for someone to eat the yummy water. Yeah. Right?
Well, when you're in the Namib Desert, you better have really good camouflage for those all those ungulates coming through wanting to like nosh on you.
Yeah, so our gardener, who's he's responsible for the lit-ups. He went to South Africa last year, so he did a South African-inspired bed out in the cacti house. So we tried to do a bit of geography in here. So South Africa on this side, America, North America, South America, trying to divide it up a little bit. So what the gardener, he went to South Africa, and what was most striking to him was that they seem to only grow on these.
This kind of stone?
Yeah. Wow. So white belts like this, and then you would see the lit-ups. So he was like, we gotta do that. So that was his first thing coming back. He was like, I'm gonna buy these stones now. I hope everyone's okay with that, because this is where the lit-up is gonna grow.
Well, he wants it as authentic as possible.
Yeah. And I think this is really nice. Also, you have the different species, and now they're blooming, and you could really look at the varieties. Most of them are yellow or white bloomers. But then you see the differences in the leaves, and I think this is also rather inviting. Here we actually have a little sign saying, don't touch the plants. Yeah. Because they're rather sensitive, and we get little nail marks in them, and then they die, unfortunately.
When you see here South Africa summer rain, which happens to be my name, but so they bloom during a summer rain, or is that when they're actually above the surface, or?
Well, South Africa has different regions, so some of them have rain in the summer, and some have rain in the winter, and some parts have rain both in summer and winter. So this is just from the part that gets summer rain.
Okay. Yeah. And then you see some of them, like you said, some of them get touched and they might be dying back. Do these ever die back completely and then reemerge again, or?
So for this one over here, I think we have little hope of getting this one back again. I don't think so. So no, it has to. I have not seen a lit-ups going back all the way down, and at least not in greenhouse environment.
So what's your, what are some really good care tips might you be able to impart on somebody who wants to grow lithops in their home?
Enough light.
Enough light, that's the key.
Yeah. Even if you do everything else right and you don't have enough light, then you won't have nice looking lithops, unfortunately.
Well, this is a nice little display, and also very cool knowing that these are the stones that it typically has been seen in, and that they're all in different stages of bloom.
Hej hej. Hallå. Ska bara gå in och kolla lite på Dionysia och lite lökar. Yeah, so this is the cooler part of the greenhouses. So we have a bulb and geophyte collection actually stretching all over here. It's huge, and it's widely known because a lot of them are unique specimens collected in the wild, and we have a very neat crocus collection, for example.
Beautiful crocuses out in the landscape, which is very nice. So do you grow these here and then you plant them out there? Or?
No, these are part of a collection, so they stay in here. These are mostly collected from areas around Jordan and Iran and Greece and so on. So we have several scientists working on these collections, so that's why we have so much of the geophytes. But we're also going to look at the Dionysias, these little Primulaceae cushions from Iran.
Oh, they're so cool.
So this is a really nice collection. We have described species from this collection and new species coming in, and doing still active research on these plants. And they are so cute.
And these are growing on like rocky outcrops, or?
Yes. So you would see, like, when they lose the shape, you could just put in a rock and they would just immediately
get on it again.
Wow. And you really see, unfortunately, not so many are in bloom, but you could really see the Primulaceae flowers.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. So they are so meticulously cared for. Like, when they replant them, they sit and they pick out with tweezers things that has
Necrotic
wilted.
spots.
So they just, So this is high maintenance, and it's, I think, the world's only collection with these many species.
So how many species do you have here?
I'm not sure at the moment, but I think we have around 40 species.
And these are primarily from Iran?
Yeah.
Okay. And then who is determining the species of these, and do you tell primarily by the flowers, or are you looking under these under macroscopes, or how are you?
I think both.
Okay.
So we have a botanist, Magnus Lidén, who's working on this, genera in specific. So he does all the determinations, and he does the collecting together with another horticulturist here, Henrik Zetterlund. And the two of them are really working on this genera, making this very important scientific collection.
The topography of each of these is just, it's so precious.
Yeah.
What is this one that's kind of like, that's an interesting one too, but it's obviously just seemed to grow up out of it.
Yeah, that's a little weed.
But it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's,
it looks like it has like a pea or snapdragon looking flower.
Yeah, it's a snapdragon in that family.
It is?
Yeah. Okay. So you can see the little, so when you turn it up here, you see it as well. Yeah, so this is fantastic when it's all in bloom. So you have all these different shades from white, yellow, purple, and then it's just...
I have a really silly question, but if you were to carve a stone, like of a person's face, and then plant these on it, would it kind of like make the structure of the face of it?
I don't think so. I think they are too... the rosettes in themselves are too sturdy. Okay. So they would sort of...
Just clump it out into this more rotund.
Distort the face, unfortunately.
This one's so fuzzy. I haven't seen anything this really fuzzy. Nice. Wow. Can't come by here and not pet this.
This is super cool. It's from Venezuela, Espeletia.
So we don't know the species, but we have the genus of this, Wow, this must grow in like really harsh sun. Yeah,
it's creating a little shadow for itself, and also getting some water,
Does it take the hairs, and does the water, like, does it get mist, or how is this collecting water? Is it
this will probably collect some water on this, and then the droplets will sort of go down here for the roots to take it up. But this is actually a species. This is Schultzi, but this is not. This is a different species.
Different. Okay. Wow.
Very cool. These are really cool.
Yeah. Thank you so much for showing this. This is a nice preview into going into the travertine area.
Yeah, a lot of these guys you will find in the tufa beds. Okay. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking us through, especially some of the nursery collections. This is phenomenal. I think we're gonna maybe stick around, and can we meet your colleague as well?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Let's go meet her. Okay. It's been great to have you here. It's so much fun to show everything.
Oh, well, you know what? Everybody is going to love this, because there are plenty of new species that I have not seen before. And I think this is going to be such a treat for some of the viewers.
Let me know what plants at the Gothenburg Botanical Garden were interesting to you in the comments below. And if you consider these videos valuable, then I'd love if you could give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel while you're at it. It really does help the channel grow. There's also other simple ways to help the channel while helping grow your knowledge of houseplants. Consider becoming a sustaining member of the channel. Tap into our 125 houseplant care spreadsheet, or enroll in the Houseplant Masterclass, which is a month-long audiovisual course which comes equipped with its own 350 houseplant care spreadsheet. All of this and more can be found at homesteadbrooklyn.com.